Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Kat and I'm going to show you my process of painting realistic cherries in a jar using watercolor. I'm painting this using a reference photo, so please check the link in the description box below for the source of the reference photo. So I already have this drawing. Notice that I already marked the areas where I'd put the highlights and shadows based on the photo. I have prepared my brushes and paints, and I'm using Raphael Kolinsky brush size 2 and 4, and I used Daler-Rowney watercolors. For this painting, I used alizarin crimson, cadmium red, Prussian blue, Chinese white, viridian, and yellow ochre. To get the colors that I wanted that are close to the dark red plumped cherries, I played with 3 colors: alizarin crimson, cadmium red, Prussian blue, and I mixed the alizarin crimson with Prussian blue when painting the areas with the shadows. I used the individual colors to match the different tones in the cherry. I hope you can follow how I paint. I'm sorry I was not able to include the palette in the frame of this video. It would have been easier for you to follow my process. Anyway, you may leave comments below if you have questions about the process or anything about painting with watercolor. I would gladly try to answer them the best way I can. I know I look like I do not know where I'm going with this painting at this point. That first cherry does not look like a cherry at all. Honestly, I was not sure myself, but I continued painting. You may be surprised at the final outcome. I made sure to include all the important steps in the process. I was able to shorten the video to less than 20 minutes, but in reality, it took me almost 2 hours to complete the painting. As you can see, there are areas that I avoided painting. Those are the areas for highlighting. Cherries have shiny skin. To show that shine, you need to leave areas unpainted because it is easier to add color to these areas later than to remove the pigment. For me, the markings on the drawing, where to put the highlights and shadows, are helpful in the painting process. I have not yet developed that skill of painting from memory. I still need planning on how to tackle a certain painting. I look at the reference photo as a whole and try to understand where the light source is coming from and how the light casts shadows on the surface. I also try to identify the different colors on the objects, so even if we see that the cherry is dark red, there are different shades of red you can see, and these shades depend on how the light illuminates the surface. This is how I study the subject so that it would closely resemble the real thing. In painting, I always have a tissue near my palette to easily blot the excess water on the brush. I also have another paper on the side where I test if I mixed the right color. In future videos, I will show you how I mix the colors when I paint so you guys have an idea how my palette looks when painting. So please subscribe to my channel and click that notification button so that you will know when there is a new video from me. Let me know if you have trouble with the quality of this video. I have adjusted the sound and I hope I got the right amplification for my voiceover. My usual painting technique when using watercolor is apply my strokes using a dry and more saturated color on the dark areas, and I gradually spread the color using a wet brush. I use this technique when my subject is either a flower, fruit, or animal. It may look like I am very certain and precise about my strokes and colors. In reality, I am really looking at the reference photo every now and then, and I paint the different shades in the different areas as I see fit. When you look at the painting now, it is slowly taking shape. The highlights and shadows started to make sense now. Attention to details is important in realistic paintings. Each little highlight and fine stroke contribute to the painting as a whole. This is one of the benefits of learning how to paint. You tend to be very observant of your surroundings and of the subject that you are trying to paint. In a way, painting can be a cerebral process. You immerse yourself in this activity which improves your concentration. I read somewhere that Leonardo da Vinci said, "Painting embraces all the 10 functions of the eye, that is to say, darkness, light, body and color, shape and location, distance and closeness, motion and rest." So thank you for the explanation, Leonardo. For me, art makes me happy. I always try to do more of the things that make me happy. All these colors that I use in painting cherries are the different colors that are produced from mixing alizarin crimson, cadmium red, and Prussian blue. These are the specific pigments I used. You can also try different shades of red available in your palette. Try to experiment one bright red pigment, one medium red, and one dark blue, or any combination of red and blue. Cherries have stages of ripeness and different varieties, so different combinations of reds and blues could still result to a realistic painting. We are now on the part where we paint the glass jar. This jar is a clear object. It does not have color. So how do we know that there is a glass? It is through the reflection of the cherries on the surface of the glass. Also try to observe the way the light hits the surface. For the rim and the grooves on the jar, I see shades of light gray to gray on the surface of the glass. I used my existing colors. I mixed everything, which makes the mixture close to black, and when I mix black with white, I get gray. The different shades of gray is dependent on the amount of white mixed in. In a way, I do not have to use a tube of black paint. I get to save on the paint, but the colors are already squeezed out from the tube. In painting a jar, you do not have to paint the entire shape. You just paint the reflection and the shadows, and when finished, you can already see the shape of the container. When looking at the reference photo, I really try to identify the very dark areas and try to replicate it in the painting. The contrast between light and dark adds depth and makes the painting look real. For the finishing touches, I go over the painting and start blending the colors until I am satisfied with the outcome. And this is the completed painting. I hope you were able to follow the process. And this is the completed painting. I hope you were able to follow the process. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.